Looking for Thursday night football, expert injury analysis, game breakdown, and best bets? Well, you, my friend, are in the right place. Welcome, football fans, to another edition of IDP Plus Bets. That is right, folks. I am your host, the Degen Doc, and we are talking none other than Thursday night football. That is right, folks. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers head to the Atlanta Falcons to have a nice NFC South divisional matchup. We've really been getting a lot of these divisional matchups on Thursday night, which is just awesome. I mean, it has so much implications. Not only is it for entertainment, but this is a big game. This is for the number one spot in the NFC South. And if we look at the standings here, you got three teams that are vying for these spots here, with the Bucs at 3-1, Falcons at 2-2, and the Saints at 2-2. Panthers, I'm not going to say they're out of it yet, but, Shaq Thompson out for the season. It's going to be a tough pill battle. But you got three teams with a legitimate shot, not only for the division, but also to fight for a playoff spot there. So it's a huge game. I'm absolutely jacked for it. I hope you guys too. And let's go ahead and get right into it, right? Kicks off in just about 2 hours. So we're going to start as we always start. We're going to look at it from the injury perspective. We're going to see how beat up are these teams coming in. And then we're going to go game breakdown. And of course, I'm going to give out my best bets for this game. All right. We are going to start with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who are definitely the team that is more beat up coming in. They ruled out 6 guys. So starting on the offense, right tackle Luke Godke, definitely butchered that. So apologize if you ever listen to this, but he's been dealing with a concussion. He's been dealing with a concussion ever since week 1 when he picked up the injury. So, quick note on concussions. If you want to hear me talk more on concussions, definitely check out my X, other things I do on YouTube. But the NFL is being stricter on concussions this year. 5 years ago, 3 years ago, even like 75, a majority of players would return that next week from a concussion. We are not seeing that, at least early on in the season. Last season, early on, the NFL seemed stricter, and then they started to loosen it up. I mean, Trevor Lawrence got cleared the same week, So we're kind of seeing a shift. Now, for the right tackle here, it's a bit concerning because now we're talking about 2+ weeks of him being out. Now, Skull, the backup right tackle, he played well against the Eagles, not so well that week against Denver. So kind of up and down. We'll see how he goes there. Wide receiver 3, Jalen McMillan, and his direct backup, Trey Palmer, are both out. McMillan with the hamstring, Trey Palmer also with the concussion. Now, Trey Palmer had his concussion. He just picked up last week. Thankfully, he picked up that 6-1 anytime touchdown I had given out, not on this show, but over on X. Before he went out with the concussion. There was no shot he was going to clear concussion protocol by Thursday. So that was kind of a gimme. On the defensive side of the ball, Kalijah Cansey out, Antoine Winfield Jr. out. Huge pieces, but they've been missing for several weeks as well. So this defense really has kind of figured out how to win without him. They got Vita Vea back in the middle, which was big. But one of the big additions really was Servassier Dennis out of Pittman himself. He was becoming a tackling machine right next to Levante David. He's on the IR with a shoulder injury. So one to watch for, called a pretty significant shoulder injury, obviously out at least 4 weeks. So that's kind of the newest hole there. Yes, there's 6 guys out. They've won without those guys, but Servassier Dennis is kind of a little wrinkle. Now on the Falcons side of the ball, they're really thin at the linebacker position. So already Nate Landman, who came into the year as a starter, was already put on IR. Now, Troy Anderson has stepped up. I mean, he was the NFC Defensive Player of the Week. He had a defensive touchdown off a tipped interception last week. He's out of the game this week with a knee injury. On the offensive line, you have center Drew Dahlman, who was recently put on the IR. Now, he missed last week. But you do get back right tackle Caleb McGarry. You picked up an MCL injury. He's going to play. He's going to be a little banged up, but still, I think him at 80% is probably a little bit better of an option there than the backup right tackle. And then you got Bijan Robinson, who is off the injury report, but he was dealing with a little bit of hamstring. He was dealing with a little bit of shoulder before. From what I've learned, they don't put that on there for nothing, right? And we're going to get into that with one of my bets a little bit, but, just a note there, Bijan with both the hamstring this week and shoulder last week. And then just came out today, punter Bradley Pinion, still expected to punt today, but he's been dealing with neck spasms. For anyone who's ever had spasms in the neck and the back, they could be feeling good. They'll probably give him a little something before the game, make him feel a little better. But if he gets into the game, if he takes a hit, they can definitely absolutely spasm back up. It was just happening today. So, one to watch for. I know it's punter, kicker. We don't think about it, but we don't think about those specialists until they're really matter. So, game breakdown. We got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on the road laying 2.5 points, about plus 120 on the money line, and obviously Atlanta is laying. Excuse me, Tampa Bay, the underdog, is catching 2.5 points, plus 120 on the money line, and Atlanta is laying 2.5 there. Over under sitting at 43.5. Look, game breakdown here. I see this going very, pretty evenly matched teams, but in my opinion, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have just been a more impressive team overall. 3-1. When you look at the teams they beat, they obviously beat the Commanders, who we didn't think a lot about until all of a sudden Commanders don't look too bad, right? They beat the Detroit Lions as their only loss right now, a team that is a Super Bowl contender for sure. And they beat the Philadelphia Eagles pretty handedly. And that's a team where some people thought they were a contender as well. Now, my Giants blood will not say that they're a Super Bowl contender, but they're definitely a playoff contender. So they beat 3 really stout teams so far. They definitely got beat up against Denver, kind of sleepy spot. Denver's got a really good defense there, but that's been an impressive start for this Tampa Bay Buccaneers, even with how beat up they are. On the Falcons side of the ball, I think it's a little bit counterfeit, right? Sitting there at 2-2, we look at their 2 wins. It took a Saquon Barkley drop and then a 2-minute drive after really the offense not showing a lot. Great drive by Kirk Cousins to go ahead and beat the Eagles, at the last second there. And then last week, it took a muff pump for a touchdown, and it took a tipped ball interception touchdown for them to get the win against the Saints. And, of course, Koo kicking a 50-plus yarder to win the game. So, yes, they're 2-2. But I don't see them at the same level as the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So that's going to lead me into who I like for the game. It's Tampa Bay. Give me them plus 2.5. This is a division rivalry game. Obviously, it can be close. I'm taking them just on the money line at plus 120. When it was plus 1.5 a little bit before, I was just doing money line. But I would advise, we just saw it against the Saints last week. These divisional games, they can get ugly. 2 points, you may not think 2.5 is worth it. But if you don't have as much conviction as I do, I would definitely not mind getting the extra point there. All right, talking about how I see this game going. Both these defenses are pretty similar. Both these defenses are pretty stout against the pass and pretty susceptible against the run, right? So I'm going to approach this in 2 different ways here. Starting with the Atlanta Falcons side of the ball. Look, whether it's Arthur Smith or Raheem Morris, for whatever reason, as much as the fantasy community wants Bijan to get 100 touches, it's just not happening. And Tyler Algier is a good running back. I gave this out earlier in the week. The numbers jumped up. I still like it. Tyler Algier over 40.5 rush yards at plus 110. He's coming off back-to-back weeks of hitting this number and really kind of getting a decent amount of carries. No, I'm not saying he's going to overtake the RB1 role, but I think Atlanta's path to success tonight is through the ground. Yes, you have Vita Vea there, but they're pretty beat up. Again, Savassi Dennis is out. They're still beat up on the defensive side of the ball. No Antoine Winfield. So I do like Tyler Algier to get going in the run game there. And on the defensive side of the ball for the Falcons, sticking with them, I like D. Alford over 4.5 tackles at plus 105. He's 3 for 3 to this number the last 3 weeks. He's the 4th leading tackler on the team, playing that nickelback position. Now, the Bucs like to throw the ball. We know that, whether it's Godwin, whether it's Evans, whether it's a couple other guys I'm going to talk about here in a second. They like to throw the ball, and I like that Alford likes to stick his nose in there in the running game. So give me Alford over 4.5 tackles at plus 105 when I grabbed it a little bit earlier there. On the Bucs side of the ball, I'm going to go with Sterling Shepard. Yes, Sterling Shepard. 3 catches for 50 yards last week. 25-plus yards at plus 110. I also liked his anytime touchdown. It's kind of been bet down a little bit. It was at plus 550 earlier in the week. I think it was around plus 400 when I looked recently. That's a little, I don't know if I want to get into that, but I do like his yards. He's going to be the wide receiver 3. Obviously, 3 catches, 50 yards last week. Baker, he's a veteran guy. Baker can trust him. And Cade Otton as well. I think that the Atlanta defense has a decent secondary, right? You got AJ Terrell, you got Jesse Briggs, you got Justin Simmons, and you got D. Alford. But I think a lot of attention is going to go to Evans and Godwin, as it should. I think it's going to leave opportunities. Look, they already are down 2 linebackers on the season. They just had to sign a guy off the street who may get some playing time. So this is a situation where the middle of the field, I think, is a vulnerability for this defense. So I like Cade Otton as well, over 35.5 receiving yards at plus 120. And then this is where I zag a little bit. As much as I really like Tyler Algier in this game, on the other side of the ball, everybody's talking about Bucky Irving. Bucky Irving's going to be the RB1. He's going to take over. And I agree. He looks like the more explosive back. However, I don't think the Bucs just completely shut it down with Rachaad White. I'm going to go Rachaad White over 9.5 rush attempts at plus 110. This is a situation where he's still the RB1. I don't think Bowles is going to completely get away from him. And I think game script wise, I do like the Bucs in this game. I do think they get a little bit of a lead and then start to run the ball, especially in the second half. So for him to get just 10 carries, I think is very doable in this game. All right, folks, that is it. I am on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I like the rushing games in both angles there. D. Alford tackles, and then Sterling Shepard and Cade Otton to get a little bit done through the receiving game. All right, folks, for IDP Plus Bets and myself, the Degen Docs, I appreciate you. Every Thursday, I'm giving you live the game breakdown, injury analysis, how I see it, and of course, wrapping up with best bets. And then I'm about to jump in the studio. It won't be live. It'll be out tomorrow, but Sunday, my 5 favorite props for this NFL Week 5, obviously excluding this game. Give it out every week. We hit a plus 350 last week. We hit a plus 450 the week before. So I hope you come and join us. Catch that out. It'll be released tomorrow. All right, folks. Good luck if you are tailing, and let's enjoy some football. So from the Degen Doc over at IDP Plus Bets,